friends, welcome back to another art time-lapse video. I will be drawing a bluish girl while answering some of your questions and talking about how I did this piece. I did a TikTok live a few days ago and many of you have been asking some questions about my art journey and some techniques I've been using. And I saw some questions in the comments below on my other art YouTube videos, so thank you for asking the questions. And I have compiled all the questions together in this video and I will be answering them while you see this time lapse. And before we get into all the questions, this piece will be posted on my Instagram and TikTok right after you see this video, and the links to those will be in the description box below. And similarly, all the art supplies I've been using in this video will also be in the description box below. And don't forget to like, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment some questions you have on art or anything in general. I love talking to you guys. You're always so sweet and I'm very grateful for all the support I've been getting. And for this piece, I decided to challenge myself and go with a blue skin tone. I have never really worked with blue or red skin tones, but I thought it would be fun to try them out. And for this video, I decided to leave the sketch out. I actually tried filming it, but it took way too long since I had to map out her facial features and map out the blue highlights and shadows. And unfortunately, I lost some footage of me coloring her neck between her chest, that area. My phone ran out of storage, so I had to clean that up and then start recording again. But for upcoming videos, since I am getting used to editing and doing the voiceovers, you will definitely see me sketch from scratch. And for some upcoming videos, I want to take some of my favorite Instagram artists' creations and draw some of them in my style. I thought it would be really fun to experiment with my style, of course, and also improve it. I also want to do some basic and detailed tutorials of my skin tone blending and answer some of you guys' questions, so feel free to leave any questions. I love responding to them. This piece definitely took longer than most of my other pieces. The main part I had to figure out while doing this piece was the blending between the red skin tones and the blue skin tones. I had to make sure that they were as clean and clear as possible. That was definitely the hardest part since I wasn't really used to doing all that blending with just the blues. And I love talking to you guys on my TikTok live. It has been a really fun time. I got to know where you guys are from, and also some similarities we have. So the first question was, when did you start drawing and what are some interests and inspirations you had when you started? And I start by saying the obvious. I started drawing when I was like 2, 3, 4, drawing those princess stick figures and ponies and animals and farms and flowers and those kind of stuff. But when I was 7 to 12 years old, I think, I did on and off drawing. That meant some years I drew every day while some others I didn't draw at all. It was a roller coaster experience. But when I was in the beginning of quarantine, or a few months before quarantine, I started watching anime TV shows, and that's when I started to draw some of my favorite characters. And back then I had no clue on how to do anime faces and their anatomy, so I drew Hinata and Kageyama, and boy, you should see that drawing. Oh my goodness, I look back to it now and I'm like, what is that monstrosity? I really want to do a video of me showing my old sketchbooks and drawings, like from all the way, like from 3 to 4, and see how my improvement was over the years. But I am so scared to show you guys that drawing. But you know, it's for educational purposes, am I right? And after that crazy obsession over Haikyuu boys, which is still in fact going on, I drew some Hunter x Hunter characters, Blue Exorcist characters, One Punch Man characters, and I still have a lot of animes to watch, but I also want to draw some Studio Ghibli characters with some painting serenity, like those very peaceful paintings. I want to do those soon. But I did have a drawing period where I only drew anime guys and, you know, my ships. But then I started looking into realism art because I really wanted to improve myself in all fields of art, not just one. And, you know, just like anyone, I had a really hard time in the beginning, but after a lot of practice, it eventually did pay off. I also want to do some art style drawings where I continue to build my own art style, not just doing realism. I feel like those are always fun to compare with other artists' art styles, and also something a little bit less harder than the realism projects I've been doing. But I still need to find my art style, and you know, I had one of the most hardest times doing that. I usually get inspired by other artists and then implement them in my own art style, and I had like tons of art styles, but I'm settling on one for now and I am in love with it. I did some sketches recently in my sketchbook, and I want to show you that in my next video as well. And I did do a camera angle change. There it is. I wanted to do a variety on the footage. But to wrap up the seemingly long question that I didn't completely answer, I started drawing, or taking drawing a bit seriously before quarantine, like a little bit before quarantine, and I used the time to fine-tune my blending abilities. And some inspirations I have are, of course, seeing multiple talented people on Instagram and YouTube. I love watching some of their videos. They inspired me to do the same as well. I also love the very cute portraits, and I also want to do them and show you guys how I do that. And I also love landscaping, or landscape artists that draw the trees or the water, especially water. I love water. Go water. I love drawing water. And also I love Japanese scenery and Indian scenery, that they are always so pretty, and I want to do that in the near future. And like most artists, I did start drawing with the anime boys, since I did some fan art of them, or it's not just anime boys, some fan art of some TV series or some book series, just fan art in general. I started doing that first, and then getting into my realism, and then also simultaneously trying to develop my art style. And the second question also came from my TikTok live. There I was doing a drawing and I was putting a marker base down, and for any of my projects I usually put a marker base if I was working with colored pencil mediums. And someone asked, wouldn't it be easier if you just skip the step of using a marker base and just colored with the colored pencils? And just like any question relating to art or artists, there really isn't a right or wrong answer. It just depends on the artist's preferences. But for me personally, I like using a marker base. It does take a little bit extra time, but it is worth it. It helps me visualize where I have to map out the highlights and the dark places. And it actually takes up more of the colored pencil lead and wax inside to cover up all that space, but the marker already holds a strong foundation to work on. And it really is their preference, but I don't want to waste the colored pencil, so I like using a marker to map out all the areas of the face without me being scared to mess up. Even though it will be covered up by the colored pencil, you can see that the marker gives a more stronger base. Like if you did or did not use a marker base, you can see the difference, and it'll also be a lot easier to blend. And I have no idea if that made sense or not, but I think you get the gist of what I was trying to say. If you compare two artworks that do or don't have a marker base, you can see the difference, and that difference does require a little bit extra time, but it is worth it. And there were a lot more questions on my TikTok live, but I did answer some of them there. If you want to go to my live, don't forget to click the links down below. That will take you to my TikTok and my Instagram. Don't forget to check those out. And the third question was from the comment section on my last YouTube video. If you want your question to be answered, don't forget to comment your question down below. The question was, what kind of pens, markers do you use, and where did you buy them? All the materials I use will be in the description box below. Their names are listed there, and I buy them from Amazon. But I would usually want to go to an art store because I just love how the paint bottles are there, the sketchbooks, the colored pencils, the canvases. It just makes me so happy seeing all of them there, even though I'm broke and I can't buy them. And unfortunately, I can't show you the art supplies up close since I did pre-record this video. But I can show you them up close in my next video. So if you want to see those in like a 360-degree view, you can check them out in my next video, and I'll be sure to show them to you. And another question from the comments are, how do you know where to shade or highlight? This question popped up at a really good time because I think it is easier to see where I shaded and highlighted on bluish reddish skin rather than regular skin tones. So I usually put the highlights on the forehead, the nose, and the upper cheekbone, and I darken the areas around the edges of her forehead, the eyebrows, the edge of her nose, and the part just below the cheekbone. And although it is easier to see where the highlights are, it is better to practice shading and highlighting with regular skin tones because you will use them a lot more than the blue and red skin tones. So I am thinking to do a skin shading tutorial next with all the art supplies I used there. I asked some of you guys on Instagram to pick out some colors for me to use on my next portrait, and the sea greenish blue one, so I'm going to use that for my next portrait and also give you a lot of helpful tips for shading and highlighting the skin. And once again, you can comment any questions down about art and give me some things to talk about on my voiceover, so it'll also be very helpful to you guys. And here I am putting the finishing touches on my art piece and my signature. Not too bad for my first time with blue skin tones, although it was very different from using regular skin tones. Thank you so much for watching up till this point. Hopefully you got a kick out of my rambling about your questions, which I loved reading and responding to. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe on this video so you don't miss upcoming videos, which I'm very excited about. Bye for now, friends!